Hello and welcome to my presentation about making real-time decentralized decisions with data. Just a quick warning, there may be some bad jokes in this presentation, but most of them are intentional. So first things first, a quick who am I? So hi, my name is Ben Gamble. These days I work as something akin to a technology sommelier at Aiven.io. My role is more about trying to help you solve your problems using various pieces of open source software, maybe pairing you a nice Kafka over here with a good bit of Postgres, maybe some Solana, and some nice cheese to go with it. I've worked on a bit of everything from MMOs and the metaverse to medical device development, banking, fraud detection, and most things in between. I even once started a Google Glass augmented reality company about 10 years ago. And these days I code in Rust to make more crustacean jokes. And about the crustaceans, let's talk about what is Aiven. Now, to start with, this is the Crab Nebula. And this is our lovely mascot Krabby and 7 of his 11 favorite open source friends. Because the stars are the limit when you get to open source data tools. Because open source is about capturing the free cycles of all of the world's engineers in one place. And Aiven is here to democratize access to these tools with one platform for your cloud needs, from streaming to storing data to analyzing data, deploying it in stateful manners with Terraform, Kubes operators, or REST APIs on any of the hyperscaler clouds of your choice. We exist to try and make sure these decisions are straightforwards, meaning that you can build out an infrastructure, reason about it at scale, and take you to wherever you need to be. We're trusted by over 1,000 customers worldwide, including a few interesting ones such as the UK government, where I'm from. As much as they love to send me tax bills, some of it goes through us. People like Sneak for keeping your cybersecurity good, Blizzard for your games, and Toyota for your cars. So, quick clarification of terms about this talk. First things first, what is real-time? When I talk about real-time here, I'm going to be talking about what's known as soft real-time, which really means as fast as possible on commercial off-the-shelf equipment and software. We're not going to be custom building an ASIC or doing GPU accelerated stuff with no actual OS kernel in the way. No, we're doing standard stuff, but as fast as possible. And also, like ChatGPT, which is the most scary piece of software I've actually ever come across, including all of the Miltech I've worked on. But it's not the point of this talk. No, we're here to talk about how to deal with decentralized data, how to get decisions in real time, and interact with users. So let's talk about real time and what needs to be real time. Most of the time, real time demands come from decision making. Either it's a machine making a decision or a human making a decision. When it's a human, actually, you suddenly get to this problem where total latency matters slightly less than apparent latency. But you fundamentally have people anywhere in the world, whether they be trying to find a date, find a game to play and the other 10 people they need to play with. They want to dig through data on some hardcore dashboard behind the scenes. They might even be on a commodity trading app on the end of a mobile phone, a shaky 3G connection. Or they could just be trying to find the next movie to watch after their current show ends. And now let's kind of dive in a bit further and actually think about some real use cases here, because fundamentally, this is what means you have to make decisions. Let's say you need to recommend a movie, action adventure, suitable for your 5-year-old, lots of animals. Make a trade. Your Ethereum for my Bitcoin, and on a nice option contract to go with it. Or maybe just getting a taxi from Hogwarts to Narnia or the Party of Three and a Dragon. One of those hard to match use cases where there's not that many people going in that direction with that kind of capacity. The more kind of little niggles you add to a decision that needs to be made, the harder it gets. And they all need to be made with relative alacrity to actually satisfy the customer needs. So let's actually dive into that, because there's nothing is real time unless failure costs something. So the classic one is movies. If the recommendation takes more than a second or two, you're probably going to go and try and click something yourself instead, which means you're not going to have that guided experience. If they didn't recommend the stuff immediately on your shopping cart on Amazon.com, as soon as you said, I want to buy this book, you might not buy it. If it took a little while to pop up, Netflix would start losing you. And the same with kind of trades, but trades are user defined. most of the time, at least in kind of centralized finance, you have fill or kill orders with strict timeouts. Option contracts have expiry dates. And with taxis, I don't wait more than about 10 minutes before I change apps these days. Because what failure looks like is what really drives it. Because we know what success takes, but failure to recommend a movie means I'm going to churn my session. I'm going to leave the app. If I can't make a trade, I'm going to get annoyed and hopefully nothing happens. But if something happens and I get the wrong thing, there could be a massive penalty, particularly in regulated exchanges for fiat currency. But for DeFi, you end up with the fact of you hope your smart contract can still keep you safe. But more often than not, you're into the simple fact of I can't make the trade I want. I'm going to have a really bad time. And with a taxi ride, the churn gets actually even more kind of sensitive because as soon as I switch apps, I go from Lyft to Uber, I'm going to use Uber again next time. And this is where we come down to this problem of once you start shaking and eroding trust in something, it's very hard to get it back. Let's talk about why this is hard. And the real problem here is that people hate waiting. If we could wait for true consistency and good consensus, we could get away with a lot. And the Byzantine fault-tolerant nature of a blockchain could be better exploited. But people hate waiting so much that we can't rely on that. Hence, we have to do more things off-chain. Even layer 2 start to get a bit difficult. So let's take an example. You're away from home. It's raining, and let's say you want to do some things. Maybe it's summon a ride. Maybe it's order food. Change your flight. Hell, if you've ever used a flight changing app, you'll realize how complicated that is and how many moving parts there are behind the scenes. Or, pay using crypto. It's been about 5 years since I last saw a Bitcoin ATM, but even back when they existed and there were places that accepted crypto as actual payments, the difficulty it took for someone who's not in the know is significant. Or anything with an NFT. Like, I've been to events where I've had NFTs minted for me just to find out that I do not have the right kind of easy way to get access to it. Or seeing my colleagues say, I don't have a wallet, how do I even get this thing? Any of these things where suddenly you have to make 10 extra steps to get to what you need, or this thing has a time limited actual offer and I need to transfer this NFT to get the item in the game. These things need to be done easily and quickly. And you do not want to have to deal with the fact that if I can't match my demand with some supply, we're going to have a bad time. Because what people wanted is a concierge level experience. Web 2.0 has trained people to expect things to be good. And the problem ends up being is what you ended up with was something a bit like this. It feels like we've gone back in time to the days of, of bulletin boards and IRC chat, where everything is some long digit code to identify yourself, magic passphrases are required, and suddenly you've lost the nicety we've learned and kind of built out over the last 25 years of web development and kind of user experience design. And you end up feeling like this, unless you're actually in on the inside of this stuff, most of the user experiences are terrible. People end up just plugging away and hoping and seeing what happens. And let's double down on this. Things suck because speed is expected. The number of transactions that go on in even a relatively small exchange in the fiat world are multiple orders of magnitude higher than most of the DeFi stuff that goes on. And there's just no hope to catch up on chain. So when everyone expects that kind of Web 2.0 performance, without actually doing some work at your end, this is something you cannot offer. And everyone has got used to that. And here's the big thing. Unless you can give that upfront experience, which is fast, slick, and actually meets someone's demand immediately, you're still back to the fact that it doesn't matter how decentralized you are. If you can't serve a user demand inside that time window, you're going to have a bad experience. And bad experiences are often worse than no experience. Because let's say you say, sorry, can't help you, can't find you a game in this metaverse, can't find you a party to play with, can't buy that item today. As soon as you do that immediately, that's great. But if it starts happening, but then something fails and then a smart contract kicks in to keep everyone safe, or you have to put up something to actually pay the thing to go through, we paid gas fees to do stuff and it got unwound, you have this massive breach of social contract going on because everyone who came into this who doesn't know the ins and outs of how this stuff works is just going to expect it to work. And without a significant amount of wrapping, none of this is ready for the rest of the world. So And let's just get kind of really to the core here, which is things like blockchain tech and particularly decentralized applications are about being trustless on a network. And trustlessness is great for network, but it's absolutely terrible for users. You need to be able to trust and that chain of trust all the way through. If you have an NFT of a qualification certificate and then it transfers a few times and upgrades, that's a wonderful point. But all it does is establish a chain of trust from the person reading it to the person who ever issued it in the first place. And you're still back to that first guarantee. Meaning that unless you can verify that chain quickly, what is it? It could have been fraudulent and then passed through the chain. So once again, trustlessness is for networks, not for users. So how can we fix it? Well, to start with, we're going to need some historic data, because unless you know what's happened, you can't really predict what's going to happen next, and neither do you have actions to base things on. We're going to take some live data, the current price of the token, the current fees of the network, where players currently are in the metaverse. And then we're going to run some maths, because we're going to try and match a demand to some supply here, right? But that's going to take a lot of maths, to be honest, because fundamentally, unless we can do it and crunch it quickly, it's going to be quite hard work. So start thinking about technology. You've got a large number of connected things. You'll need a place to work on this, and you'll need some layers to put it together. So we're going to talk about PubSub, and I do not mean nautical drinking establishments. I mean Apache Kafka. And we're going to use some stream processing on top of this, because that's what kind of gives us that kind of operational stuff. One of the true things about chain data of any description is it is event-driven. With Oracle servers piping down this stuff, you occasionally, no, it's not occasionally, but every time you need to amalgamate a state of the world to know what action to take next. So what we need to gather some data, sort it out, mix it up, and transmit some results back to the users. But the problem is it takes so much data. If you've seen one of those fun test sets for BigQuery, it is the Ethereum blockchain. For a good reason, because it's huge, and the amount of actual things going on, the amount of data you have to know the truth. Let's say find the dirty wallet, make sure you're not going somewhere the SEC won't like you. That's a lot of data. It's like 6 hops from a flagged wallet. So it gets complicated. And these systems then, you don't want the system to be like this, where, oh, I can't help you, sorry, my response is limited. So we got to cheat. And are we going to talk ChatGPT and throw an LLM at it? No, we're not. Instead, we're going to use Aiven. Now, what Aiven gives us is enough of the best scalable tools out there to make real-time decisions quickly and easily in a scalable platform. So we're going to take our chain data, we're going to take our user data in a high-speed database like Cassandra. We're going to then be able to run our tasks and streaming jobs on this in Apache Flink. We're going to use Kafka as that kind of backbone behind this and transmit this kind of data in real-time user-facing protocols, such as WebSockets, gRPC, GraphQL, and almost anything in between. And the reason we have to use tools like this is we need per user transactions and analytics in under 10 milliseconds. So Apache Cassandra, Apache Kafka, Apache Flink, and ClickHouse are these kind of open source tools that allow you to do the things you need to do as fast as you need them to be, meaning you can drive that kind of true slick Web 2.0 great experience with Web 3.0 technology and accessibility, security, and decentralization. Because fundamentally, if you're offering a service, you are a central point acting on a decentralized world. And you have to do this per user, which is what really makes it challenging. And the real scale question comes in of like, you can't easily act in a distributed transaction. Instead, you must kind of pool your data first, then make a decision, then distribute it back. Because that's why you have to go fast, because this is per user. And have any number of steps. So unless you have thought about what scalability, how many logical steps you've got to run, you might be in for a kind of a bit of a shock unless you have a scalable data platform below to be sure that you're not trading to a fraudulent wallet, to make sure that you can match supply and demand, and to be able to make sure that when you do succeed, you're not in a bad place. So if you'd like to try Aiven and see what you can really do here, we have numerous clients in this space. This QR code will give you access to a free trial with an enhanced number of credits. And my name is Ben Gamble. I've just kind of given you a whistle-stop tour of it to try and just show you where these things are going. Reach me online on either LinkedIn or X. I'm easily findable and happy to chat about anything you've heard today. Thank you very much and have a great time.